So today I'm going to show you how to make all the charts you're going to need for your project, and I decided to use Google Sheets because not everybody is able to download things onto their computer. What I will say is you all get Excel for free with your school email. If you want to use that instead, that's perfectly fine, but Google Sheets is just a little bit easier to use, and everybody can use this for free. And it's really nice when you're trying to share with people. So if you're working in a group project, it makes it a little bit easier to work together. So what I'm going to show you how to do is I'm going to show you how to make a histogram. I'll show you how to make pie charts, and I'll show you how to make the scatter plots that you're going to need to make. And so what I did was I made up some data about my cat, and I pretended to record the minutes that she meowed. She likes to meow a lot. And so this is saying she meowed for 4 minutes, she meowed for 6 minutes, she meowed for 2 minutes, and this is how many people were present. I have 3 roommates, so there could be up to 4 people together. And then here, this is the location in the house. And so these are my quantitative variables, here's my qualitative variable. And so I'll show you how to make all the charts. One thing you can do before you actually make your charts is you can make your data look a little bit nicer, especially if you're working with other people. You want this to be easy to look at. And so right now, with the way it's currently formatted, I cannot tell you just by, if I click on it, then yeah, I can read it. But at first glance, I might not be able to tell you what those are. And so there's a few different ways that we can take care of that. I can either select this column, and I can, if I wait till the mouse is an arrow, I can change it and I can make it automatically fill to the width that I need it to be. Or I can do that for everything at once. And so if I click this little gray box up here, I can format everything. And so one of the very first things I usually do with all of my projects, every time I'm working with Excel, is I'll make the raw data look nicer. And so here, I'll auto format everything. I personally center everything. Text wrapping, just in case if you have really long variable names, then this text wrapping right here will make it so that it'll make the box taller if needed, or this is called a cell. It'll make the cell taller if needed. And so things like this just make it look a little bit better. You can also bold this here. If I select all of my data, I can put borders on it, things like that. And so this just makes it a little bit easier to see. I personally am not a fan of the borders though, but they're there. So I'll undo that. So now that our data is nice to look at, we can start making our charts. And so what I usually do is make a copy of my data, just in case later on I accidentally delete things or move things around when I didn't mean to and I don't know how to undo it. And so you can make a copy of this whole sheet if you just click this little arrow right here and then duplicate. And so if I duplicate this, then I can make a histogram. And so I'm going to make a histogram for minutes meowed, and so I don't need these columns. And since I made a copy of my data, I can just grab them later. And so where's delete? Delete column. And so to make the actual chart, I'm going to click this A right here, and I'm going to go to Insert Chart. And so for me, the histogram is the first chart that pops up because I've been doing this. And so if it's not what popped up for me the very first time was this really ugly pie chart. And so to change that, you're just going to go to chart type right here. If it's not in the suggested, which it wasn't for me, you're going to scroll down to other, and then here it is. It's the second one. And so there's your histogram, but there's a lot about this that needs to change. It's not a very nice histogram. For instance, this title is not a very good title. And so you want to make your title something that's not just the name of your variable. So I wouldn't make it minutes meowed. You don't want to do this. Do not do. And so instead, I'm going to give it something interesting, like how long does Kess like to meow? And so that's a better title. It's more interesting. And so here, oh yeah, if you ever accidentally close the chart setup thing, you just click these 3 dots right here and go to edit chart and it'll pop back up. But so another thing I want to change is this axis title right here. When you're making charts like this that have where the data values have units, so for instance my units here would be minutes, you want to put those in parentheses and not in the title of that axis. And so here I'm going to type meow lengths, let's say. And then in parentheses I'll put in minutes. And so if you're making, for whatever histograms you're going to make sure you have your units in parentheses here. And so you can also add an axis title to this axis right here, but this is just frequency, and when you're looking at a histogram we should all know that this is just frequency. So you can title it with frequency. If you wanted to change that, you could go to the chart editor and then click customize, chart and axis titles. Here you can change more about the title than just the text. You can change the color, and so I usually make it black, although I don't know why it's not working. There it goes. And then to change the axis titles and the colors of everything, you can even add a chart subtitle. You could go to vertical axis and you can start typing some stuff here, and then it'll pop up. But this is not necessary. You can also, another thing down here, notice is it says from 2.71 to 4.07 minutes, she meows the most. Realistically, looking at my data values, that's either 3 or 4 minutes. And I kind of want to know, is it 3 or is it 4? And so here, what I can do is I can change, if I go to customize and then histogram, I can change the bucket size. And so this bucket size is the same thing if you're working in Excel, that would be the bin width. If you're working in Excel and you're having trouble finding the bin width, because it can be kind of difficult to find, then let me know. This is the main reason I decided to use Google Sheets, because the histograms are a lot nicer to work with. And so here, once I change my bucket size to just 1, I could do 2 if I wanted to, but again, I want to know 3 or 4, so I'm going to change it to 1. This just looks nicer. And so I can see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, she meows the most, 4 minutes, right? And if I look at 3 minutes, that's not even the second tallest bar. And so it's definitely not 3 minutes, and she likes to meow for 4 minutes the most. And so here's my histogram. It looks pretty good so far. There's some other things I can change though, but that's purely looks at this point. If I go to chart style, I can change the background color. If I go to chart border, I can change the border. And so you can kind of see that it changed. If I clicked out of it, oh, it looks black. Let's change it to something that pops. And so here I'll make it, I don't know, bright pink. And so there's my bright pink border. To change the color of the bars, that's not under chart style, that's under series. And so here, the color of the bars is right here under series. Change it to red, or I don't know what looks good with pink. Probably just pink, huh? So there is my histogram for how long Kess likes to meow. Okay, so now that my histogram is made, down here, I can make either a bar chart or a pie chart for my qualitative variable. So I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. I'm going to make a copy of my data. And here I can rename it. So I'll rename it pie/bar chart because I'm going to make both right now. And so I'll delete the columns I don't need again. And then what I'm going to do is the same way I did it last time, insert, chart, and then here's a pie chart. And so the pie charts look pretty nice. If it's not under suggested, again, just kind of look for it. You can choose one of these. You've got normal pie charts. There is pie charts with holes in the middle, and I'll show you how you can adjust that hole actually. And then you can also make it a 3D pie chart. And so I'll make it a normal pie chart again, but it looks pretty nice on its own without doing much to it. The only thing I would want to change is where does Kess like to meow? And so on its own, it looks pretty nice, but let me show you there are some things you can do to it to make it look a little different than this, right? You can change the background color of the whole thing, you can change the border color again. If you can make it 3D here if you wanted to. Maximize does not look good in my opinion. If we go to pie chart, this is where you can adjust the donut hole, and so you can make it 50%, you can make it smaller, you can make it bigger than that. You can also put it, like the label values, into the actual slices here, but they don't all fit, right? So it doesn't look that good. You can put the values, you can put the percentage, but again, it doesn't all fit. And so I'll just leave it as none. So that's what you can do inside pie chart. Inside of pie slice, you can change the color of each slice if you wanted to, but I have too many slices here for me to care about the colors. But what you can do, which might be kind of nice, so let's say you're working on your project, you're typing up about your variables, you put the pie chart in there when you talk about the where is Kes variable, but then you want to say, if you look at the pie chart, you can clearly see that sliding glass door is the biggest slice, and so she likes to meow by the sliding glass door a lot, which is where she likes to meow at birds, right? And so here, if I go to customize and back to pie slice, if I go to sliding glass door right here and I do distance from center, I can pop it out of the graph and I can say, look, this slice right here is the biggest, right? And so maybe you put this in underneath the other pie chart when you're talking about this variable or this value right here. But overall, I would want to just keep it at 0. That way I could see all of these percentages and everything like that. And so yeah, that's how you would make a pie chart. You can also, if you don't want to make a pie chart, you can make a bar chart. And so as long as your qualitative variables are getting as long as they're getting the appropriate graph, so I would not want to make a histogram here. That's not the appropriate graph at all. As long as you make the correct graph, that's fine. And so to make a bar chart, you're going to go to bar, or not bar, but you're going to go to column, or you could do a sideways bar graph if you wanted to. That doesn't look too bad. If you want to make like not a sideways bar graph, that's column right here. And so you can make either one of those. Let me show you some things that you can change. Again, the title should be changed, so where does Kes like to meow? And then here, so, oh, okay, I'll do it. Oh no, Command Z, there we go. Edit chart, customize, chart and axis titles. I don't know why it's not letting me change it through there. Or here, so for this axis title, I'll put location in house. And so for qualitative variables, the data values don't have units, and so you don't need to worry about putting anything in parentheses right here. But here, so yeah, let me show you some things that you can do with this. So if I go to customize chart style, again, there's all the usual background color, things like that. You can do the maximize thing again, you can do 3D. Compare mode, we don't have anything to compare it to. I only have one column of data, so that's not going to do anything. If I go to chart and axis titles, again, that's how you adjust all of this. Oh, no. If I go to series, again, I can change the bar color. If I go to legend, well, we don't have a legend here. Okay, horizontal axis. So one thing that you can do here that I think is kind of cool, you can change the way these are slanted. So I can do 30 degrees. And so now I can actually read all of them, right? Or I can do 60 degrees, which is, I think it may have been before. Or you can do 90 degrees. But so here it looks like 30 degrees would be the best one because it actually allows me to read everything, right? Another thing you can do is it under vertical axis? No, where is it? Under series, you can add data labels. And so you can see the number, right? You could put the number on there, which might be kind of interesting to see, right? But you don't have to put that. And so on its own, this is a pretty nice bar graph now. If you go back, you can make it this kind if you want. Your settings should stay the same. Yeah. But so that's how you make a pie chart or a bar chart, whichever one you want to put. You need at least one of these though, for each qualitative variable. Now let me show you how to make the scatter plots that you're going to need for your project. And so I'm going to show you how to make 3 different scatter plots. And so let's start with the first one, which is just going to be my quantitative variables. And so I did the same thing where I duplicated my data and then I just deleted the column I didn't want. And so it looks a little different because I was doing some filtering here, but that's okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of these columns. You have to make sure they're highlighted here, otherwise it's not going to know that you want to use both. And you're going to insert chart, and it's giving me a histogram, but I do not want a histogram. I want a scatter plot. So I'm going to go to chart type. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to hit scatter plot. And so, oh, I can see some correlation here, right? I can see that the less people that are present, the longer she meows. Maybe she's, I don't know, lonely or something like that. She is a very needy cat. And so here, although this data is made up, so, but here, so I'm gonna have my question as my title for my scatter plot, and you all should too. So does the number of people present affect, and it's definitely affect, I looked it up, how long Kess likes to meow. And so there's my title. And so again, you can center it, you can change the color, everything that you can do with the other charts you can do here with the styling and stuff like that. But so the other thing I would want to change about this is my axis titles, right? These are not very presentable. And so here, while the units for this quantitative variable are technically people, it would be weird to do number present in people. That just seems weird. So I'm just going to leave it as number of people present. And then here I'll make this exactly what I made the histogram label for it, meow lengths in minutes. And so there's my histogram. Let me show you some things you can do with this. Again, like I said, you can do all the same styling that we had done. Series will change the color of the dots. But another thing that is under series is these trend lines. This trend line is the line of best fit. And so if you want to present the line of best fit on your graph, you can do it there. It will, however, it will not tell you what that line is. It won't give you like the y equals mx plus b form of it. At least not that I can find. And so you're going to actually have to find that yourself, either by using your calculator, or if I can figure out if Google Sheets can do it, I can make another video on how to do it in here, because your data is already typed out in here. But for now, you can use your calculators. But yeah, so that's how you would add the trend line. So to make the second scatter plot, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to duplicate my data. I'll rename it to scatter2. And so here, I want to see if the location, so where is Kess in the house, I want to see if that affects how many minutes she meows. And so I don't need this column, but since I want to see how column B affects column A, I should really make column B column A. So I want to see how A affects B. And so here, notice if I try and make a scatter plot when I do not have numbers there, gives me this weird, it keeps repeating everything, right? And so, but when I make a scatter plot, like if I go back to my first scatter plot, it's not like the 8 is repeating every single time that I have an 8 here, right? And so I want to have it do the same thing. And so to fix that, I need to make these numbers. And I'll talk a little bit more about why those numbers aren't really going to mean anything, but so here, let me delete this for now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new copy of this column. I'm going to leave this as is again, and I'm just going to copy it over here into column F. And what I can do while it's here is I can go to data, oops, and then I can go to remove duplicates. So when I click remove duplicates, I do have a header row, that's the where is Kess, and so I'm going to remove all of the duplicates. And so it says they removed them, 9 unique rows remain. So there's 9 locations in the house that she likes to meow. And so here, I'm just going to give each one of these a number. And so I'm going to copy this over and I'll say, okay, number. And so the bedroom, I'll make that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then what I can do is I will make a new column. So I'll go to insert, one left, and then I can put, okay, this is number. This is where is Kess in numbers, right? And so bedroom, okay, that's 1. Downstairs, that's 2. Inside, oh man, I have to type this a bunch of times. let me show you how to get around typing this a lot of times. If you're really adventurous, you could look up something called the VLOOKUP formula. However, I'm not going to show it to you. It's a little involved. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to quickly do this without having to type it a bunch of times. So if I go to this little button right here, create a filter, you can do this by either going to data, create a filter, or just click it right here. It's going to allow me to filter these columns. But notice when I filter where's Kes A to Z, these do not change. And so this is why I was being very specific about your data and have it all the columns being next to each other, is because when you filter it and there's empty columns in between your data, the data that's over here does not get filtered. And so it kind of can mess things up. So make sure you have everything that you want to be filtered kind of together. But okay, so let's go back to this. So what I can do is, so these are not very interesting. Inside bedroom door, let me just double check. Okay, that's 3. And so what I'm gonna do is, oh, here, we should probably do the filter first. That's right. But so yeah, if your data's, mine's already kind of lumped together, right? But if your data's not lumped together, then you can do sort A to Z, and it'll put everything together kind of like how this already was. And so then when you get to one that has a lot of values, you can just wait until your mouse is this crosshairs, and then you can just drag it and it'll copy the first cell that you're dragging. And so kitchen's actually 5, so good thing I checked. And so you would drag kitchen down, loft area is probably, yeah, it's 6. Office is 7, there's only 2 of those. Outside bedroom door, oh, this is one where I do not want to type 8 over and over again. Sliding glass door, that was actually 4. Again, I don't want to type that. Windowsill, that's 9. And so that was a lot quicker. It was a lot easier. And so now I have what looks like a quantitative variable paired with another quantitative variable. And so I'm going to remove this filter now. And so now I can create a scatter plot between these two variables, this one actually being qualitative. And so I can insert a chart. And so here you can see that there is not much correlation going on there. And so, but really what this would mean, even if there were correlation, it's not like there's actually correlation, because you know how you look for kind of like, okay, do I have high values of y paired with low values of x, or do I have high values of y paired with high values of x? Things like that. But the x values here aren't actually numbers, right? So what was stopping me from making bedroom 9 versus, or yeah, what's stopping me from making bedroom 9 versus windowsill being 1, right? And so things like that. So you can't actually talk about correlation here, but it kind of can help you to see if there's chunks of data. And so my graph is not a very good example of that. I'm going to make another one in a second that kind of shows you what I mean by that. And so here, like, imagine that I had the minutes meowed was really tall, but only over here. Well, then I could say, okay, she likes to meow for a really long time when she's in the bedroom, or she likes to meow for a short amount of time when she's in the kitchen. But there isn't actually any correlation, there's no growth together and things like that. But there are patterns that you can pick up from these. And so again, you would want to change everything. So does Kes's location in the house affect how long she likes to meow? The answer seems like no. But so here I would do location in house. And here I would have to change this again to meow lengths in minutes. And so that's a pretty decent graph. Now you could add the trend line if you wanted to, but it's not going to be very interesting here, especially because these are not actually numbers. One more thing about this one is if you wanted to change it so that you actually had a line going through 3 and you had 3, 5, 7 showing up, what you're going to have to do, and this is slightly tedious, but what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go to the axis that you want to change that for. So I could do it to both here. So let's do it to horizontal first. It's going to be this, oh, where did it go? Oh, it's under grid lines for both of them. And so what you're going to do is, if I do the vertical axis first, then that's this one. And so I have to actually count how many data values I'm going to have. So right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But if I wanted those numbers to be there, then I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And so major grid line count, I would have to change that. Oh, I can't even change it to 11. But see, the more, like, the higher the number, the more data values it's going to show. And so I'll leave it at auto for now. Here, oops, not the horizontal. If I go back to grid lines, I change vertical axis to horizontal, and I can change this. So let's say I change that to 10. Then there we go. That has everything I would want, right? And so there are things like that that you can do. But another question that could be interesting is, so right now, it looks like there's nothing going on, but maybe there's some sort of relationship between if she's upstairs or downstairs and how long she likes to meow. So I can make these 9 responses into 2 separate categories, and I can look at that scatter plot. And so I already have that data here. Is it upstairs or downstairs? Either 1 or 2. So let me show you how I got that, just in case you're interested in finding things like that. What you can do, and so I'm going to take this column again, I'm going to copy it over here. I'm not going to remove any duplicates this time, but over here I can say, okay, is bedroom upstairs or downstairs? It's upstairs. Downstairs area is obviously downstairs. Bedroom door, downstairs. Kitchen is downstairs. Loft area is upstairs. Office is upstairs. Outside bedroom door is upstairs. Windowsill, they're everywhere, but she likes to meow on them downstairs. And so I'm going to go through my data, and I'm just going to put, if it's upstairs, I'm going to give it a 1. If it's downstairs, I'm going to give it a 2. And so I did that very similarly to how I put this number here, and so I already have that, so I'm just going to move on. And so now I can make a scatter plot with these 2. And so I can highlight them, insert, chart, scatter chart is already selected, and oh, I can see, okay, so 2, that was downstairs, and so I can see, wow, when she's downstairs, she likes to meow for a long time, but when she's upstairs, she doesn't meow for that long, right? So that's kind of what this is showing me. Again, you can't really talk much about the correlation here, but you can see those patterns, right? She likes to meow a lot downstairs, but not a lot upstairs. And so that's one of the things you can talk about. Again, I would have to change all of this. I'm not going to, but I would have to change everything here to make it look nice, not just delete it. You could add the trend line or the line of best fit, which is what we're going to call it in class. And so yeah, that's how you make your scatter plots. And that's all the charts you need for your project. So, of course, if you have any questions, let me know.